What's good, yo? I want to remind y'all, man, that you need to build up your energy, family. That's where it starts. You know, everybody wants to talk about changing the world, right? But you can't change the world, yo, if you don't change yourself. So for myself, family, as I give y'all this video, it took time for me to work on myself, yo. I didn't know who I was at first. None of us did. We were all in that spell of a sleep state, right? We found knowledge, we learned from somebody, and we transmuted that information into our reality. And that's why, once you've elevated, you don't look at yourself the same no more, because you're not the same person, family. You do things to build yourself up instead of doing things to break yourself, family. But you got to remember, family, if you are seeking help from others in this physical dimension, you must realize that everybody's not like you. I always tell people this because they get caught up in the flesh, they get caught up in the matrix, y'all. But just because your spirit is praised by the Most High and it is running through purity, not everybody has a spirit like that, y'all. Because their spirit might not be even living through their physical. For the ones that watch these videos, y'all, I know that you are living through your spirit as well. Not just through your flesh, but you are living through the spirit as well, because you are trying to take care of it. You're trying to find ways on how to better up your spirit, right? Because the flesh, you can only do so much. In the flesh, you're limited by the physical dimension because you can only do things physically, But eventually, y'all, everybody wants to be able to do things that's out of this world. Everybody wants to feel like they have power, and that's where it starts, family. The power's within you, but you don't know that because nobody told you that before, so it doesn't sound realistic. Ironically, y'all, just me telling you this shit, it might make you feel like I'm a crazy person, but you gotta be crazy before you see truth, because it's just like everybody who has did something in their life, family. They were crazy for a long ass time until they made it. And now the motherfuckers that looked at them crazy, they're the ones that never spoke again on it, because you don't truly know somebody until you see how far they gotten. Don't judge somebody by what they're doing. Judge them on how they're, being a being in this world. They're either gonna be doing something to help the world, or they're gonna try to break the world, y'all. But you can't do both, though. You're either gonna be a parasite and a parasitic invader, or you're gonna be someone trying to heal the masses, heal the world, and show the world that there's more to life than just this flesh. It's crazy because a true chosen one, y'all, he builds his life trying to figure out what more there is to life, to gather information, right, to pour it onto y'all, because the chosen one, their life has been through hell. And that's why they have this knowledge now, because the Most High has given it to us, family. And all the Most High wants you to do is give it to everybody else, family, because not everybody's going to receive a download like you. You're open to receive, family, because you worked on, you heard that call. And the Most High said, give this to the people living on that flesh, because they'll still have, they can't say that they ain't here or that they ain't get a chance, family. For the motherfuckers that been watching videos like this, you can't say you were warned, y'all, because the Most High will always show up when you least expect it, when you call on, something that you want to see with faith. But you gotta put that work behind that, family. And that's where everybody's fucked up, family, because not everybody wants that work. They don't want to put that work in, but they want them results, family. For all them people, y'all, who have, sold their soul and shit like that, they feel bad, I see a lot of motherfuckers in this industry, y'all, who are never happy, Yeah, they have shit that makes them feel subtitle, but that smile is dimming every, hour of the day, because they can't do things that they normally could back then, without having so much spotlight on you as well, feeling like you can't do shit and enjoy it peacefully, In life, y'all, we were never meant to be celebrities, because how is it that you are somebody that walks out, y'all, and you have thousands of fucking, people who are just not aware trying to jump onto you and shit. Those are fucking zombies. Those are people who have viruses, yo. And they see you as the, antidote. So they're all trying to rush at you. That's pretty much what a celebrity is. Someone who's being worshipped like they God, But you want to say that, for the people who are worshiping God, you want to, pour their cup with falling, It's just, there's been so much fucking, distractions that you don't know what's real anymore. You don't know what's real anymore, y'all, because the shit you see online, you don't know whether to believe it or not. You can't trust nothing that's externally, y'all. You have a voice inside your mind that talks to you. You must build that, a connection with that voice within. Just like as Ichigo did with Zangetsu, yo, when he, started meditating, yo. I meditate if I can daily, but if I don't, y'all, I remember that I still go back into that state, y'all, to build up the energy that is, staying still within me, because the energy that you are trying to pull out from a meditational state, it's already in all of us. But the more we stay out of ourselves, y'all, the more that energy stagnizes. And that's why your bones start feeling like you don't want to work out and shit, or all the energy is being in just one spot. It will never feel rotated. So you're gonna feel like your body's limited, but that's not the case. Your body is, stressful, and it's truly, intellectual, y'all, if you truly tap into it, But this is important, family, because you gotta realize that there are not people in this world like you, chosen one. You stand out heavily, as I live day to day, y'all, in my reality, whether I work, whether I go places, people, they look at me differently, y'all, in a good way or in a bad way. I'll get people that have that evil eye, in a sense to where they look at you and their eyes, their eyes look like they have been taken from them and been possessed, because those eyes, demonic eyes when you see how someone looks at you, intentionally especially, But that's because that body, that ego that they are living in, since they don't have no energy to reach their highest self, yo, those entities are going to control that vessel through the nanobots they put in your foods. And that's why, it might seem like it's hard to wake people up, or it just might seem like why people, are trying to treat me like they fucking, trying to take all my energy, because it's not truly them, because their soul, it's pretty much their soul's being put to sleep in that vessel while the darkness is taking over, And for you to fully get this, y'all, you must have been asleep before, because if you're still asleep, y'all, you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, y'all, because you don't even have no awareness, To be aware is to be alive, but to be alive, y'all, is to know that you were once living dead, And for a lot of us, y'all, deep realization, y'all, it taught us that you won't ever see the other side, y'all, without shadow work, without sacrifice, without putting some kind of work into yourself, family. And that's why every video I drop, y'all, I remind you that you don't need nothing outside of y'all. You may think that God is watching you, and He is. The Most High will never switch up on you as long as you don't switch up on the Most High. Don't go asking motherfuckers outside of you for things, yo. Don't be relying on everybody else for what you gotta do. You know your calling. That's why the Most High put you down here, But people get occupied by this illusion, y'all. So they end up losing their identity over time, because they start forgetting what they came down here to do, If someone threw a big ass bag at you, y'all, of course you're going to take that instead of helping your own kind, because you look at your own kind like they ain't shit because of how that bag can help you. But it can only help you in this physical dimension. What about when you go to sleep? What about whenever you leave this world, y'all? What about when you want to be able to do what you want to do on times? You can't, because you have no morals once you have, no control, y'all. These devils or these entities, y'all, they are lesser beings, right? And that's why they don't have power. The only power they have is trying to buy yours. But if you can be bought or be sold, well, you ain't no chosen one, because you have no fucking identity. Who are you really if you say You can be bought. You have no worth, man. That's why I say, family, you must really, realize that there's not a lot of chosen ones out here. And the motherfuckers that are proclaiming that they are actually, teachers, guiders, helpers, some of them are just trying to, deceive you, make you feel like there's more people on your side. And that's why I say, family, you gotta read energy, y'all. It starts with reading energy. You can't read energy if you don't have no energy, y'all. But, that's a video for another time. Right now, it's about knowing that when you are a true chosen one, y'all, and you have this light, yes, you are protected. That's the first thing that you notice. But you notice that everybody around you is fucking lesser being, They live on physical things, y'all. They crave, entitlement. Or they just like to live above feeling like a title serves them, No title is worth, your energy, because your energy is so potent, But I just want to remind y'all, family, before I get out this video, that now that you know that there are lesser beings around you, motherfuckers that can't even take sunlight, y'all. You realize that God put you down here for a really big, purpose to, override all that fucking darkness that has been keeping this world so low for so long, The devil can't live where the light resides, y'all, right? So how you think the devil feels when you are shining that light all fucking day, especially in these places that these people own, They're not your corporations. You don't own shit. But that light, it antagonizes and interrogates them on a soul level, because, yes, everything around you is physical. That's the illusion. But you can't run from judgment. And that's judgment on your spirit and soul, because everybody has a chance to elevate. But these words can either go in you and out of you, or they can be dissected and be transmuted, family, But if you truly want to say you're protected, y'all, remember, the Most High will talk to you in situations and, thought forms, and just even in the meditational state. But you can't, be feeling like, oh, the Most High has let you down, or has, let go of, stepping with you, because you haven't received the manifestations you are wanting, whether it's physical, whether it's materialism, whether it's just, a better reality. The Most High don't give a fuck about none of that shit, y'all, because you weren't put down here to get anything physical, y'all. You came down here to change the experience for the beings who've been stuck living in the lower realms. So, being around you, it sparks, questioning. And once that questioning hits their brain, everything changes, y'all, because it takes a being like you to step out to realize that you override the norms of society, y'all. And that's why when you look at motherfuckers, they can't even hold eye contact with you without them shattering, without them falling before they master, because you found out power is an energy. And the more you take care of that, the better you feel about yourself, the better you get things done, and people will respect you on a deeper level, because, of course, as that should be, because why would they respect someone who has no respect for themselves, y'all? If you have no respect for yourself, y'all, no one's going to want to listen to you, right? It starts with energy, family. Energy is all you need. That's your currency. It's your currency because it can't be taken away from you unless you give the enemy permission to drain your ass, deplete yourself, y'all. But if you don't, the energy's rising up and, refreshing through you every single day, through the minutes, family. And that's why you are powerful beyond measure, y'all. You are truly powerful beyond anything physical, because that power that's building up is not physical, y'all. It's not something you can get a dopamine hit from until you fully realize what it's been doing for me long-term Jeopardy-wise, giving you energy, reminding you that you are strong, changing your facial structures, giving you the confidence you need to take on the motherfucking devils in this, hell of a world we've been in, We didn't know this was hell, y'all, because we were asleep. But now that you're woken up, you know that hell's around you, and you've been sent down here to eradicate that shit back to the senders, you know, so heaven can, you know, reform right here again on this ball, you know, or this, you know, just surface of a plane that we call reality, you know, family. But this was a video, family. You know, judgment will come to those lesser beings that have looked at you or have treated you differently throughout your life, because you don't need nothing physical, y'all. Them motherfuckers, they can't live without that physical shit, y'all. You know, they can't live without no phone. And that's why, you know, you will see when it's time who really is chosen, who really ain't chosen, y'all. You know, you can't hide that title, because you can't hide your presence from the world, you know. But I'll see y'all, my chosen ones, you know. Remember, keep your light up and have that protection, man, because though they might try you, that shit finna deflect on their asses for them even trying to fuck with you, y'all. You know. But I'll see y'all, man. Ashe.